because you didn't get the promotion, I'm reminded of what God has for me. It is for me. And if I didn't get it this time, then look out, God has something else in store for me. You can't have Bible study on Wednesday and leave here Wednesday night and your brother or your sister who's hungry, you pass them by. Some of us are seeking right here in worship. We know all the motions. We know all the signals. We know how to hold our back and run across the floor at the right time. But half of us are seeking, waddling in sin, waddling in our mess, seeking in pride, sinking in hatred, sinking. But I'm reminded that the master of the sea heard my despairing cry, and from the water he lifted me when nothing else could help. When nothing else could help, it was love that took Jesus to a cross. It was love that activated the exchange, that picked me up one day, turned me around, and placed my feet on solid ground. Can you display the love of God? I've got a garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Don't you know that you've got the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness? And all you have to do is activate the great exchange. Before we get to the text, let me help you understand this exchange. See, this exchange one day was activated by 3 Hebrew boys on their way to a fiery furnace that was heated 7 times hotter than normally. And all they had to do is bow down to a golden image. Yet these 3 boys understood that they had a garment of praise. And as they were on their way to the fire, as they lifted the lid off the furnace and was about to throw them in, I believe one of them declared, let's activate the exchange. And they opened their mouths and said this, surely our God is able to get us out of this. And if he doesn't, we still won't bow down to your image. Exploding over to the New Testament, there was 2 men who understood the exchange. These 2 men was thrown in jail for upsetting the city as they went their way proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ. These 2 men by the name of Paul and Silas was locked up, but around midnight they began to exercise the great exchange. How do you know, preacher? Well, I'm glad you asked, because the Bible says at midnight Paul and Silas prayed and began to sing praises to God, and suddenly there was a great earthquake and all of their bands were loose. Once you begin to activate the exchange, everybody connected to you, life will transform. If you would activate the great exchange in your life, then your neighbor who's sitting and looking at you won't be able to sit and look at you, because when real worship hits the church, everything in the house is full. How do you know, preacher? Well, Acts 2 tells us, and there on that day when they were all together in an upper room, they began to sing or offer praises to God, so much so that God began to talk back to them, and they heard a sound that was of a mighty rushing wind, and everything in the house was filled.